Good morning, good evening, and good night to you. Right, this video is going to be about making a lanyard, and if I can work my way through or around this tripod, I'll be making something like this, and from start to finish, I make them. You can make them according to however long you want them. And I'll put the bead on the end, and I'll show you how I do that as well. It's pretty easy. Can't resist playing with my knives. But yeah, so basically I'll be making something like this, and something like something like that as well. I'll make one today that's slightly different. Here's a close-up of one that's not attached to a knife. And what I'll be making today is one with the bigger loop. This is unfinished, just haven't put the bead on the end of this one. But I like to make them like this as well, so that they kind of they hang some ways away from the knife, but they're not like butted up against the knife like this, like the ones I just showed you. So yeah, and then I'll put these are the beads that I use. Or these are a type of bead that you can use. You don't have to use these, but I think they look decorative and finish off the lanyard nicely, give it some style. And I'll be using this paracord here. So it's just some 550 paracord. And by the time the video is done, you will hopefully know how to make your own lanyards. Right, okay, so here's my paracord. I've cut off about 18 inches of paracord. I know it looks like a lot that you need to make a lanyard, but you do need quite a bit. Let's see, 18 inches, sorry, 36 inches is about 3 feet, so you're going to need about 3 feet of paracord to make your lanyard with. Okay, so now we'll go down to the kitchen and burn these ends so that the fibers don't creep into the sheath, and you end up with not so good looking lanyard if that happens. So we seal the ends, both ends, and then we're ready to make our lanyard. So here we are in the kitchen, and we are just going to burn the ends of these lanyards. Paracord. Before I do that, what I do is I use this to catch the melting residue when you burn the ends. As you can see, I've done this quite a few times, which is why I have this mini mountain of melted plastic. So I'm using one of these glass mats, or mats for glasses, whatever you want to call it. So we just burn the ends like so. And that's probably good enough. And then we do the same thing with the other end. I've noticed that using different brands of paracord, when you burn them, some of them burn without, well, how can I put it, without spitting, melted material everywhere. Others burn like, I don't know, like a firework. like that did just now. Obviously, obvious precautions are, you know, make sure you don't burn yourself, because I have done that on occasion. You know, you touch the ends too soon, you end up with a nasty burn, or melted plastic nylon on your skin, which is not. Sorry about that, guys. My SD card was full. But anyway, we have our 4 sealed ends, and now we're going to go back upstairs and we'll be ready to start making our lanyard. Okay, here we are, back in my room. Here are our 2 lanyards with the sealed ends, and we're going to start making our lanyard now. So we lose one, don't need that for the moment. Let me just zoom up so you can see clearly. Is that going to focus? Yes, it will. Good. Right. So we take our first lanyard. I want to make sure this is in focus because you need to see this clearly. Let's just back off a little bit. That's better. Right. So take our first lanyard, or lanyard paracord number 1, and wrap it around the first 2 fingers like so. Okay. Make sure it's the ends are fairly even, and that's how it should look. Right. Now you take our second piece of paracord and need to thread it through here. So you just loosen this up a little bit, make it a little bit bigger so you can get the paracord through. Put it through like this. Again, making sure it's all nice and even. That's the second bit. The next bit you want to do is take this piece, this end here, take the end and thread it through all the way to the back, like that. Pull it through and then bring it back around, and you should end up with something like this. Right, the next bit, let that drop. Again, make sure that it's fairly even again. Don't miss that bit out. So let these 2 ends drop, and you want to be looking at this end now. So this end you can pull out completely, and this comes down like this, and then needs to be pushed off to this side. So you bring this down and then hold it off to the side like that. And this end here needs to come across like so. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. This end here needs to thread up through this loop. So up here like that, and you have your first little knot. I think it's called it's a crown sinnet, I think, and that's your first knot. It's more confusing if you have if you're using paracord of the same type. If you have two different colors of paracord, it's easy to keep track of which piece of paracord needs to go where. But when you're using paracord of the same color, then it can be, you have to take extra care. But once you've done it a few times, it becomes much easier. As you know, obviously, if you didn't get that, if you didn't get to this stage, just rewind and play the whole thing again, and just look carefully at what I was doing, and hopefully you should eventually come to this stage. Anyway, I'll crack on. So this is the loop that's going to be threaded through the lanyard hole of your knife. Obviously this is really small, so you want to make this bigger, so we just tug on it, make it as big as how you want. I want it quite large because I want it to hang off my pocket, just like this one that I made earlier. And now after you've done that, after you've made the hole big enough, you want to continue to build up these knots. Okay, so the easiest way that I do it, the way I do it is you're looking at these ends, so looking at that end and you're looking at this one. Okay, so what I do is make a loop like that, just thread it across, and then do the same. So you want to make a loop this way, okay, and then do the opposite with the other one, and then make a loop like so. And then you take the other ends, thread that through the loop, and this is probably the bit where it gets a bit tricky because you can't really see what you're doing, but you take the other strand, the opposite strand, this goes over, I don't know if you can see, this goes over that loop, and well, I say over the other strand and into the other loop, which you can see. You see that? I'm just going to thread that through like so, pull that through, and then you have your second knot. I'll just do that again. Make sure it's all nice and tight. So you take this end, make a loop, you take the opposite end, make a loop in the other direction, keep them in place with your thumb. Now this end goes over the top of that paracord, and then you do the same with the other one, and you end up having to work through your fingers, which is a bit weird. So this other free piece goes over the other piece of paracord through the loop, pull it through, and you end up with this. So, and as you can see, it's starting to build up now. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this a few times. It's always over the paracord and through the loop. Even if you turn this around, you still work the same way. It's all just a mirror for itself. It's all symmetrical. So you do the same thing. Make a loop, Make another loop with the opposite side. Take the other pieces of cord, go over the lanyard through the hole, and then do the same with the other side. Over the lanyard and through the hole. Thread them through, and then tighten it up. Make sure that make sure when you thread them through, make sure that the knots are nice and tight, otherwise you'll end up with a sloppy looking lanyard. It doesn't look very nice. And it's starting to get built up now, starting to build itself up. I think I'll do this maybe 1 or 2 times more, because at the end of when you're finished and you're satisfied with the length of the lanyard, you want to introduce another knot which kind of seals it, stops it coming undone. It's all nice and tight. Pull them through. And let's just do one more. And once you start doing this enough times, you'll get really quick, and you probably end up doing what I did and end up making about 100. I went a bit lanyard crazy, but I do kind of enjoy making them. They are cool. So once you have something like that, some people are satisfied with this, just that. Let's do one more. one more for luck. Okay, right. So once you're satisfied with the number of knots in your lanyard, that's what it looks like afterwards. You then want to start on another knot. That'll be I think it's called the wall knot. And what you do with that is actually fairly straightforward as well. Last knot. Take the strand, goes around like so. Take this one, goes around the one in front. This one goes around the one in front, and the remaining one goes through this loop here. Oops, off camera. This one goes through this loop here, so and you end up with something that looks like that. Okay, and then you just pull them through like this. Tighten up each one. And you have your walnut, which looks like this. And that's pretty much it. Now you can just, if you want, you can just cut the ends and then just seal them. Or you could have them long like this, like little I don't know, tail, tassels, if you like. But what I tend to do is put a little bead on the end just to kind of finish it off, give it some class. Now my beads that I showed you earlier, that I use are these, and we need to pop back down to the kitchen, and I'll show you what I do to get my bead onto the end of this lanyard. So what you want to do first is, what I tend to do is trim. I'm not going to there's no way that all 4 of these ends are going to fit through this little hole, right? They'll get in maybe this end, but this end is no. So what I did was I trimmed the opposite ends. So what I did, if I just open this up a little bit, if I'm going to trim 2 ends, I'll trim this end. If I trim this end, I'll trim this end as well. Or not these 2, or these 2. It's always the opposite end. So what I tend to do is pick the shortest, which is this one. So let's just trim these ends, and then trim this end as well. Make sure they're sort of equal length, because these ones you're going to tuck into the bead later on. Okay, so you should have something like that. Now, what you're going to have to do as well is cut off these ends, because these ends are hard. They will not go through the bead so easy, because the bead's hole is quite small. So take off those ends as well. Now, my fire is lit. So what you want to do now is these short ends. You just want to singe them. So and I forgot my mat. But you just want to shorten it a little bit. That's all you want to do, really. Be careful not to singe the other one. Just let it melt. That should be good enough, I think. You might need to do that a little bit more. And you don't want the ends to be so big either, because again they'll be harder to get into the bead, so you don't want that. You just want to be able to tuck them in. Okay, so now you've got them like this. You kind of squeeze them. You can squeeze them in a little bit, and then you can start tucking them into this. Okay, so what you want to do is try. The first one always goes in. Obviously, the one goes in easy. All right, and the second one is always a little bit harder because there isn't so much room. This is why you need to cut the ends, because you can then get enough purchase on the sheath and pull the whole thing through, you see? Just like that. So now you've got both ends through, both of the long ends, like that. Okay? And now you can probably see where I'm going with this. I can tuck in these 2 short ends into the bead. This is where you can use a bit of brute force. Right, so now you can see those 2 short ends are tucked in. and you can just really just use brute force and just really make that bead snug up against the lanyard. You can twist it and position it how you want. The next bit you want to do is you need to cut off these ends. So you cut off, say, up to here, because you're going to melt this as well. So melt that. Should get it in focus. Yeah. And this is where this comes in handy again. So melt that, and then to seal the end, you just dab it, flatten the end off, taking care not to burn your fingers on the gas stove. And then just melt it a little bit more. What it does, it stops the bead from slipping off once it's got a little plastic cap on the end. And then that's it. Done. So now what you've got is like you can clean off all that soot, and once it cools down enough, and it is quite cool now. It cools down pretty quick, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. Okay, and that's what it should look like. So once it's all nice and cleaned up, you then have your finished bead. Okay, so here we have our finished lanyard with bead, and that's what it looks like. Isn't it pretty? What I'll do now is just show you how I get this onto a knife. So I'll be using my Karambit G10 for this, with the exaggerated finger hole. I'll use this because obviously I won't be using a lanyard for this because I just don't need it. But it's just to illustrate how to get this onto you know, your nice lanyard hole. And the way to do it is just thread this through. This end goes through here, and that's it. That's all you do. You just zoom out, and that's basically it. That's all you do, really. Quite simple, isn't it, really? Obviously, to get it back off again, just fit it back through, and out it comes. Obviously, to get, you know, ordinary lanyard holes are a lot smaller than this, so so it'll be a bit more difficult, but you get it on there. But that's pretty much it. That's how I do my my knife lanyards. So again, if you have any questions, or you need me to go through something with you, or you've got a comment about anything at all, really, just let me know, post a comment, and I'll do my best to answer. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers, bye.